Hello, everybody. I am Marnie Clark, breast cancer coach, and today I am introducing a series of interviews with breast cancer survivors, women who, for one reason or another, have had a rather difficult healing journey. And today we have the wonderful Sara Berry, who is in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and she is the owner of an herbal apothecary shop. So Sara, I'm so grateful to have you here and sharing your story with us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do and where you live? Just give us a little bit of an introduction, please.
Sure, yeah. So, as you said, Marnie, my name is Sara Berry, and I live in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And actually, Marnie, you and I, as we discussed when we first connected years ago, have a connection in a small little town, Woodland Park, Colorado. We've both lived there in the past, so that was fun. But I own an herbal apothecary in Manitou Springs, which is actually connected to Colorado Springs, basically with my sister Anna, called Anna's Apothecary. And we're going into our 12th year of business this year, which is just so amazing to me that we've managed to get this far. I am a mother of three beautiful children, a darling husband, and I have been living with and treating myself about 95% holistically for breast cancer for the last 4.5, almost 5 years.
Awesome, awesome. So take me back to the first diagnosis that you had, about when that was and how it made you feel and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I could really take it all the way back to 2013 when I became really suspiciously ill, and never in a million years did the chance of breast cancer cross my mind. But interestingly, during that time, I started to treat myself for some symptoms that I was having. And at that time began a lot of the things that I still do today. So, infrared sauna and juicing and coffee enemas and different detoxification strategies. So I went through that for about a year, and then I felt better and I went on with my life. In 2019, I was standing in my living room, just kind of doing some stretching and messing around, and I ran my hand on the side of my right breast and I felt a lump. And I didn't immediately feel concerned because I had no history of breast cancer in my family. I had none of the risk factors, and thought, it was probably a cyst. So I started to treat it as such. Gosh, I can barely even remember what it was that I was doing at the time, but it wasn't working. And as a matter of fact, I probably, because I kind of kept poking at it, it just kept getting more painful and angry. And then I realized that I had some swollen lymph nodes, and then my alarm bells started to ring. So um, just like any of us, we go and we get it checked out and get tested and, biopsy, all of that awful stuff, and found out that I had a stage 2, grade 3 hormone positive breast cancer, HER2 negative breast cancer. And at the time, I call it my own personal pole shift. It just flipped my world upside down. I could not believe it. It just felt like a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. Um, I was just frantic of how it possibly could have happened to me. And it really took a while for me to gather the information and do the digging and the detective work and the research to discover a lot of the reasons why I think I did end up with breast cancer, and have a pretty good hold on that now. And have been, like I said, treating myself pretty holistically most of the time. I did have surgery, and I have dabbled in some hormone therapy, but nothing consistent. So that's the base, that's the foundation of all of this.
Okay. And so when you say you dabbled in hormone therapy, what was it you were doing?
Um, so initially I think I tried tamoxifen for about 2 weeks before I did anything else, allopathically at least, and it made me feel nuts. It was awful. And so I set that aside and I committed myself to just completely holistic healing except for surgery. I did have a unilateral mastectomy 6 months after diagnosis. And then I continued to refuse the hormone blockers. However, when the cancer progressed, I did decide to try some Zoladex because I felt like my back was really against the wall. So I agreed to medical menopause, and I did, I think 4 injections of that, and then I quit doing that as well. So that's as far as it's gotten thus far. And it's, it's on the table, but gosh dang it, I'm not trying to be too stubborn, but I'm still not sure if it's for me. So we'll see.
Yeah, I understand that. So in terms of the first diagnosis, what types of things were you doing to heal your body?
So this is where the rubber really met the road. I wasted no time. Let's see here. So even before I got the official diagnosis, before, it was like after the testing had been done, but before I had gotten the actual news of it, I started juicing. I watched the entire Truth About Cancer series. I was juicing, oh gosh, probably 64 ounces a day. I started doing coffee enemas. I was driving out of my way to go get ionized Kangen water every other day. Started down the path of finding lots of different supplements and just reading. I was compelled to find answers, and I was compelled to heal myself. It was partly driven by a very strong will to live and also sheer terror of trying to figure out how to save my own skin.
Yep.
So I took immediate radical action. I lost, I think, 30 pounds. I had a surprise baby when I was 40 years old. And so I was holding on to a little bit extra weight, but within a couple of months, I had lost like 30 pounds, was down to about 115 pounds. And I was exercising every day. I was hiking, 3.5 miles a day. I was rebounding. I was dry brushing. I was integrating herbals and essential oils and just everything I could get my hot little hands on, basically. And looking at trying to find help. So reaching out to people all around the world. Of course, you, Marnie, were one of those people. And seeking, just as much help in the holistic realms as I could through reading and doing my own research and reaching out to others who had successfully healed themselves. So that was a big piece for me. Watching interviews and that kind of thing with people who were several steps ahead of me in the healing process.
Right. Okay. So take us to the recurrence and the timing of that, and a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, so this is where things definitely get interesting, we'll say. So I had surgery, like I mentioned, in 2019, 6 months after I found the lump. And then I continued on with all of the juicing, and I went in and I started doing high dose IV vitamin C twice a week. I was doing subcutaneous mistletoe, had a pretty solid supplement regimen, doing homeopathy, regular herbs, just, a very consistent effort and practice to heal, and a continued effort to read and research and find, again, other people who had done well and really just trying to copy what they were doing. So in 2021 Father's Day weekend, my family and I were actually at a festival, a whitewater rafting festival, and I started limping that weekend. And I was like, maybe this is because I go hiking all the time and I don't stretch enough, or maybe it's because I lost my breast and it's some sort of, downstream effect from that. And I mean, really kind of clueless. It didn't really dawn on me. Additionally, excuse me, during the time that I was doing all of the IVs, I was also doing poly MVA, I was doing Myers cocktails. I was working with a place and they were doing some labs for me as well. So I did 2 Biosept tests. They were CTC tests. Those both came back at 0. So that gave me kind of this false sense of security, I think. In the meantime, the limp kept getting worse, and it kept getting worse. About 6 weeks after that, my right shoulder started to become painful. And it got to the point where, this was in June, by August, I couldn't cough or sneeze without hitting the ground in pain. I was just in agonizing pain.
Wow.
And this was like one of the weirdest things too. So I had been trying to call my oncologist, and, normally I would see her every 3 months, and I wasn't hearing from their office, and I would call and I wasn't hearing back. I was just like, what is happening here? And it turns out I had accidentally blocked the cancer center's number on my phone. I don't know how I did it. So I did not it took me about 6 months before I had any sort of imaging or anything done. So by the time that rolls around, this is November, December, I'm on a cane. I've lost complete and total use of the right side of my body. I couldn't move my arm up and down. I couldn't chop food with a knife. I couldn't walk my dogs. I couldn't drive my car. I couldn't get up and down stairs. Like, I was falling apart. So yeah, finally had a scan that showed metastasis in my subclavicle lymph node, my scapula, both sides of my pelvis, and another lymph node somewhere in my chest wall region. Excuse me. And so that was kind of where that piece all began. Excuse me.
Yeah. Drink some
It's
water.
so dry here in Colorado. So dry here.
I remember. Getting up out of a chair and my hair just standing up from the static electricity. Is so dry.
That sounds about right. Oh my gosh. In my office where I am, it's just like hot as blazes in here. We have no control over the heat. So I'm just like, oh my gosh. So, when my oncologist told me, I remember her handing me like a box of tissues, and I was like, I'm not going to cry. Like, I don't need this. This is just, I just need to take in this information and go back to square one, so to speak, and figure this out. So needless to say, she offered me, standard of care, letrozole, Ibrance, Zoladex. So at that time, I did agree to do the medical menopause and do the Zoladex, and then that was it. And so I took about a week, and then I just jumped back into action. And I knew I could heal. I knew I could heal. It wasn't like a hope or a wish. It was just like this knowing. And so when I was about 32 years old, I purchased a life insurance policy, just a small policy, for about $250,000. And had learned about a year prior that with a stage 4 diagnosis, you can sell your life insurance policy. So that's a great tip for people. And, if anybody is watching this and is interested in that, they can contact me and I can, get you in touch with a broker. So I sold that policy and I got 6 figures for it. And one of the first things that I did was go to a clinic in Sedona, Arizona for 3 weeks. It was beautiful. Oh my gosh. And I needed it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, it's such an incredible place to heal, and just a wonderful place to go on so many levels. I would do it again if I had to make that choice again.
And what
So
did they do with you in the clinic? What therapies did you have?
basically everything that is legal in the United States, they did there. So at its foundation, it was a Gerson clinic. So I was doing a Gerson diet where I was doing, gosh, I think like 70 to 80 ounces of juices a day while I was there. It was a lot. And then, just a real simple Gerson diet of Hippocrates soup and lots of vegetables. So at this clinic, they actually have a yurt where they do all the treatment, which I really liked, that non-clinical setting.
Yeah.
And I was there for 3 weeks. I did hyperbaric oxygen every single day. I did rotating ozone therapies. So ozone sauna, intravenous ozone, hyperthermia, PEMF. I so many IVs, so many IVs. They really push you there. So it was, again, poly MVA, mistletoe, high dose vitamin C, alpha lipoic, B17, curcumin, which is very painful intravenously, I might add. UVBI, so ultraviolet blood irradiation. I did that once a week while I was there. And I feel like there were some more things, but it was a lot to where I would be in the IV chair.
Massive.
Oh, tons. So like I'd be in the IV chair for like 4 hours a day, most days. It was really intense, but they were wonderful. So acupuncture, craniosacral, those were a couple of the other treatments that I did there regularly. So it was a positive experience.
And Nick, if you don't mind sharing,
what was it? Sure. It's called Sedona Wellness Retreat.
Okay.
Or the Lodge at Sedona. Beautiful place. And I highly recommend it. I still stay in touch with one of the doctors there. I just talked to him a couple days ago and we're friends, and they're just wonderful. And so I had done that. That was in April. I had also, which I forgot to mention this, right before I went to Sedona, probably about 3 weeks before I went to Sedona, I started using rectally dosed cannabis oil. And that really helped. That, I believe, is what got me off of a cane. So by the time I arrived in Sedona, I was still had a minor limp, but I was off of a cane. I didn't have total use of my arm yet, but I was in, the pain was reducing significantly. So that cannabis oil was, I think, really essential. I didn't bring it to Sedona with me, but continued on with that after I came home, I think for about 5 months total. And so by the time I got back from Sedona, gave it a few more weeks, I was back to gardening. I was jumping on the trampoline with my kids. I was just full throttle again. I was full of energy. I felt great. Most of the pain in my body was receding. And, I made a huge turnaround, and it was just such a relief. And I just kind of knew in that moment, or in that season of time, that I was going to be okay. Yeah. I also had, I think probably about a month after I got back from Sedona, I had a concierge doctor come and stay at my house. He stayed with me for, I believe, 6 days, and a real quirky guy, real oddball named Doc Mike. And he had a real interesting backstory to, he was an older guy. He was close, I think late 70s probably, but he had a few years prior done some treatments on the then mayor of Chicago, healed him from a cancer. I don't know what kind. And then the mayor reported him to like the state's DA, and they came after him for treating or practicing medicine without a license, and jailed him, bankrupt him. Like, it was just this crazy story. So anyway, he took it to court, he won. And now he just travels around and he helps people heal. So it was, just kind of another little add-on to the healing journey.
Right. Very cool. All right. So how's it going now? Tell me a little bit about what you're experiencing and going through now.
So that was back in 2021. I cannot believe we're at 2024 already. Holy smokes. I have been continuing throughout this time. So additionally, with some of that money that I got from my life insurance policy, I purchased a really beautiful pure juicer, a cold press juicer. I purchased a Rife machine. I got a whole house water filter, a multi-wave oscillator, bought bought the more cannabis oil because that was a pretty steep cost. And I think probably a few more, an infrared sauna. So I bought these things and I have been continuing on with them. Pretty regular juicing. I still drink, 34 to 48 ounces of juice most days, usually at least 5 days a week. Continuing on with a pretty hefty supplement protocol, regular exercise, earthing, just everything that I can every day, some sort of effort.
Yeah.
And I've been doing well, except for right around Halloween. I started to have a series of illnesses. So I had this just wicked sinus infection that I couldn't kick. And then I had a couple of instances where I was just vomiting and waking up with really bad headaches and just not feeling well. And I knew that my immune system was struggling. And so early in the morning, the day after Christmas, oh my God, I was so tired. I was so tired. I went in for a PET scan and I just agreed to that time because I was trying to beat my insurance premium, my insurance deductible for the year. And so it came back with slight progression in my pelvis area and one new lesion on my my ball socket, the ball socket of my hip. And it really sent me reeling for a little while. I was just so disappointed because I have been making effort day after day after day, week after week after week, and still have not managed to snuff this thing out all the way. And granted, I was eating some cookies and, Christmas treats and that kind of thing. So I've questioned, I'm like, well, that probably created some inflammation in my body, I think, more than anything. And maybe the stress of the holidays, I don't know. But I wallowed for a few weeks and
As anyone,
allowed my,
as anyone would.
yeah, very natural, I think. So I allowed myself to grieve. I allowed myself to cry. I allowed myself to be mad because I have spent a lot of money. I have done everything. I have done everything. Just, so many tests, so many forms of detox, so many hundreds of hours on the bathroom floor.
Yeah.
And I just so disappointed. But I've been pulling it back together and really starting to feel better. So it was like the pain kind of started to come in and I can't help but wonder. And even my 27-year-old daughter was like, well, Mom, do you think because now that maybe she's like, I know, I believe you, but maybe that the pain is increasing because it's there now.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, yeah, probably, probably. So I'm back to this place of like, well, should I do some allopathic? And my oncologist didn't seem particularly concerned. She said, we could do real low dose. We can take breaks. You could try the Zoladex again, letrozole. You don't have, don't worry about the Ibrance yet. And we'll see how it goes. That's what she does. So on my side of the coin, though, I'm like, okay, Sara, there's probably still some other things that you can do to support yourself. So maybe let's consider this for a season, not long term, and see what I can do for myself as we go. So I've been doubling down on juicing, and so one thing that I'm getting ready to start on Monday that I'm really hopeful is going to help to reduce inflammation and get my immune system up, because I really feel like my immune function is one of the culprits right now. I think the last check, my white blood cell count was like 3.2 or something like that. And it needs to be in the fives. So I am continuing with subcutaneous mistletoe, which I've been doing for several months now. And then I am going in and I'm starting EBU on Monday. Are you familiar with that treatment?
No.
Yeah, so it's pretty new to the mainstream. And I believe the place I'm going is the only place in Colorado that offers it. So it's extracorporeal blood, ozone, and oxygen. So essentially what they do, it's a double IV. So you have an IV in each arm, and they draw 2 pints of blood, and they run it through a filter, and they intermix ozone and oxygen, and then run it through a black light and put it back into the body. So it's a closed loop system. It's circular. And so it's going to, move through the whole body. It's a fairly low concentration, but it's very systemic. So it should get into my whole body. And what's interesting about it too is it has a filter that will catch a lot of the contaminants in the blood, where you can actually see it in the end. So heavy metals, funguses and molds, potentially parasites. It just kind of depends.
Yeah.
But I am a huge believer in ozone. And I just think ozone is probably underutilized in oncology.
Yep.
And just incredible benefit for me personally that I have, because I've used it over the years in various fashions.
Yep.
So really a very powerful treatment for getting pathogens. I've seen all kinds of things leave my body with the use of ozone. It's really interesting.
Yeah. That's amazing. And would you say that the ozone is one of the things that's made a huge difference for you over the period of your
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Initially, so I was working with a practitioner doing a type of colon hydrotherapy called PIOH, P-I-O-H. And what this practitioner would do is he would take it would be similar to a normal colon cleanse, but he was intermixing oxygen and ozone into the water.
Right.
And so I worked with him, I think, for about 7 days straight, and really did some heavy duty detoxing. And then when I went to Sedona, like I said, I was doing the UVBI, which of course includes ozone, and I think probably IV ozone gas like twice a week, I want to say, in addition to ozone sauna, I think 3 or 4 times a week. So just such a powerful healer.
That's amazing. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit and ask you, how about your emotional health? Have you delved into, I'm sure you have, being the thorough person that you are. Have you dealt with the old traumas and things that, we all have and we all carry in our bodies? Is that something that has been part of your therapy?
It definitely has. And although I don't know if I've completely cracked the code yet, I have been one of the other practices that I have maintained throughout my entire healing journey is a daily meditation practice.
Right.
So I have been meditating almost every single day for almost 5 years now. And I typically wake up at about 4 a.m. and slip into meditation. And so that's been my go-to. I was working with another cancer coach who really directed me through some of the emotional stuff more. And that honestly is one of the hardest parts of healing. I feel like
it is. You can do all that physical work with no problem at all, but delving into the emotional health is one of the hardest things. It is quite often an aspect that people don't deal with. And I've discovered that for those who are having trouble on a healing journey, it is the missing piece generally.
Yeah.
It is that.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with that. And, I think it's so common for women with a breast cancer diagnosis that we've got a lot of hurt under our belts. And I know I'm certainly no exception to that. I can kind of think back. I was my oldest daughter, who is just breathtakingly gorgeous and wonderful. And I adore her. And she's going to have a baby in July. So I'm going to be a grandmother and I'm very, very excited. But I raised her on my own from the time she was 4 months on until I met my husband when she was 13 years old. Her biological father abandoned us. And I had my heart just broken to dust by a man that I was with for many years that took me a long time to recover from. I was deeply betrayed by my best friend over COVID. And, so those are kind of some of the top three players that have really stuck with me and that I have had to make such great effort to forgive them, but really to forgive myself for the roles that I played in the developing hurt and, maybe how I mishandled things or didn't stand up for myself or just kind of allowed myself to get taken advantage of or didn't stand up for myself enough. So that's been a huge learning curve for me because it's like, on a verbal level and on a surface level, I'm just like, yes, I forgive these people. I love them. I wish them well. But I have to repeat it to myself again and again and again. It's like, I think it was Chris Warwick who said forgiveness is a choice. And so I have to choose every day to forgive those things. And of course, we live in this world where we have many opportunities to continue to need to forgive people too. So other things can pop up over time. And I've had to really train myself to be able to let go of things and to train myself to catch my thoughts too. So not letting the subconscious mind run the show as much. And I attribute a lot of that to my meditations and learning to catch those thoughts of, well, so and so did this and I'm still mad, or picturing my funeral, or picturing my kids without their mother, or my husband without his wife, having to no, stop those thoughts
Yeah.
and breathe life and picture a future. My littlest guy is only 8 years old. And so one of my big goals is to see him get married. That's really like the big one that I push myself to in the future. And I feel like it's possible. I really do. And I'm seeing a lot more women come out of the woodwork who have been living with stage 4 diagnoses for many, many years.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful too.
Yes, indeed. It is, it's such an inspiration. And that's why I wanted to speak with you today, because even though your journey hasn't had the happy ending yet that you were hoping for, I want people to know that it is possible to live and thrive and be okay with a stage 4 diagnosis. It doesn't necessarily mean death, and that where there's life, there's hope. And one of my gurus once said, if you can get up in the morning and you can fog up a mirror, you're doing okay. You still got breath in your body. There's still hope. There's still things you can do. And working hard at it like you are is it can be exhausting. So tell me what things you're doing to nurture yourself when you feel that sense of overwhelm and exhaustion, and like, I've been doing this for so long now. How can I keep going? What stirs you on, and what sort of nurtures you?
Yeah, so I actually had a bit of an epiphany around that just a couple of days ago. And I realized that as much as I have been aiming to remain as present as I possibly can, I have still in many ways been looking forward, like, okay, can I survive a year? Can I survive 5 years? Can I survive 7 years? And having this thought. And as I'm thinking this, I was like, wait a minute, Sarah, it's already been almost 5 years. Here you are. You've had some peaks and valleys, you've had some triumphs, you've had some disappointments, but here you are alive, you're happy, you have a beautiful family. Like, it just was this, like, be here now. You are here, Sarah. Like, holy moly, you have seriously made it this far. Good for you. And so that kind of pulled me up and out, honestly, when I was like, it just was like, boom, okay, here you are. But some of the things that I like to do, they're pretty simple. We have this, our house is east facing. We have this east facing stucco house, and my entire garden is in the front yard. Of course, it's completely dormant right now in the Colorado winter, but we have a porch swing out there, and I like to go sit out on the porch swing and just draw in the sun. It's a little microclimate right there, so it's extra warm. I've got these granite pieces. I put my bare feet on the ground and I just let the earth hold me. And I close my eyes and I look up at the sun and I just let my body fill with light. One of the benefits of living in Colorado is there are well over 200 naturally occurring hot springs around. So I usually at least twice a month get with some girlfriends and go to a local hot springs and just laugh and have a good time and be with my friends and my sisters. And again, just being with the earth, I think, is huge for me. Where, or if it's in the summer or spring or even the fall, I'll just sit on my garden floor and let the birds, the hummingbirds and the little insects just buzz around me and take in the colors and commune with nature, not just view it as scenery or a backdrop, but really just take it all in and, remember inherently that I am a part of nature. But, and then that's something that's real in this just hectic world, and where there's so much information coming through, social media and, information on cancer and take this and don't take that. And this is going to make it worse and don't do that. And just fear and questions and, so much contradicting information, and just to shut it off, just shut it off. I live really close to Garden of the Gods. I'm 10 minutes from Garden of the Gods. And Marnie, I know you know where that.
Places in the world. I absolutely love it there.
Oh, it is special. It is special. And I've been going there a lot lately too. And just the grandeur of that place. And again,
and the energy
taking,
rocks and
oh yeah, it's huge. I believe there's a ley line. It's on a pretty big ley line going through there. So I take off my shoes. I put my bare feet on the ground. And, even just being with my kids, taking my son to the playground and watching him play brings so much joy to my heart. We packed up and went sledding last week, and I was just watching him sled and snowboard, and I just could not have been happier in that simple moment, sitting there, watch him play in the snow. And so it's really focusing on what is real in this life, in this world: nature, family, friends, and, not, again, listening to all of the noise out there. And I have really surmised that my purpose in life too, where I've taken on some massive projects in the past. I mean, massive projects with the intention of changing the world. And now I just, my purpose is to raise conscious children and enjoy my family and foster a genuine relationship with God, just to the absolute depth of my being, and seeking God first. So, just simple and right at home too. I'm not, I don't need to go anywhere to do it or pilgrimage anywhere. It's just everything that I need is in my precious little bubble that I've created of everybody that I love.
Yeah. So many wonderful words of wisdom there, and I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And remember things like something, in terms of self-care, regular massage therapy, aromatherapy. There's so many things you can do on the physical level as well that help with the emotional level. And tapping is another big one that I really believe is hugely important. I'm working on releasing a course at the moment that is going to talk about and teach people who are going through a difficult healing journey the things that you can do for yourself that help to, number one, address those emotional hurts and the old, the old underlying beliefs that we held in our subconscious minds that don't serve us at all, and how to release that and, focus on something more positive for yourself. So
Wonderful. Oh, I can't wait.
yeah,
Can't wait.
hoping to have that released early this year. So just going through all of the hard part where it's going to be delivered by a phone app, I'm hoping. So yeah, that's
How exciting. Yeah,
thank-
and I'm glad you mentioned that, because those are also things that I do. I do monthly massage, I go to the chiropractor, acupuncture, I drink tea. Drinking tea is very comforting and healing to me. So lots of herbal tea. Baths, detox baths, just yeah, these are all wonderful things.
so many
Definitely.
things you can do for yourself that help to nurture you and your spirit, and it doesn't take very long, but it makes a huge impact on your daily life. So
It does. Yeah, just that well-being piece. It's so important.
yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else you feel like you want to share? Anything we've forgotten to cover?
That's definitely the meat of it. I, again, I am confident that I have many more years ahead of me. I really am. And I truly believe that despite some of the challenges that I am still facing, that I have I have a great quality of life. I really believe that maintaining everything on the physical, as far as continuing to drink green juices and a very healthy diet, lots of cruciferous vegetables, um, supplement regulation, all of the self-care things that we just discussed. You would never guess it looking at me. You would never guess it.
No, you wouldn't. No.
And and so by and large, I feel great. I have a good quality of life. I'm happy. And I'm just going to ride that wave as long as the good Lord lets me. So, and I am choosing life. I am choosing to stay here. I am making the conscious decision to live. And so I believe that we really have that ability inside of us, that long life, God will prosper me. I just really believe that very much. So I know it. I don't just believe it, I know it.
Yeah,
So
it sort of shines out of your eyes, my dear. So I know that you are absolutely right.
thank you.
I love the way you put that. Well, gosh, Sarah, I am, as I know all of us are, so incredibly grateful for you and your spirit and your determination to do this your way. So I want to thank you, and I'm sharing your story, and I wish you absolute continued healing and awesomeness. Just keep on.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank